paying mostly is grocery stores to have them, create a cooperation agreement with the grocery stores and have them there available for purchase, or they could be here at the town hall, or you could do a delivery thing if you choose.
Okay.
And then your second question in regards to, can you just repeat one more time?
Basically, will there be a different, I guess, piggybacking on Selectman Finley's comment on his question on how things would be different in terms of the route, what about for people who choose not to participate?
And I just want to clarify, are you talking about during the pilot or after the pilot?
More interested in after, because at that point there's a per person cost.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, again, that's kind of really not up to us. You would all choose if to enforce it, how to enforce it, whatever works best for you guys. I don't know, maybe John can jump in.
My thought on it is that we are pretty confident on this from what we've seen in the past, that it's been rolled out in other places, that there'll be sufficient participation from people during the pilot to see if it works. It's true that you decide afterwards how it works. If you penalize people, you don't accept anything but your colored bags, or you'll be willing to take any bags you put in, hoping that residents follow through. The thing I've stressed to every time we talk to about this, again, 8 towns move forward with it, or 19, is that if this works for the town, and this works for the residents, this is something that you as the legislative body will be deciding at some point. Did this work for our residents? Then you move forward with it. It's not something that the town is decreeing, but as Christina said, this is money from the state DEP that's being offered. There's no guarantee that they're going to keep doing this going forward, so being on the ground floor to take this money from the state and see if it works is a pretty logical step to see. Again, we're kind of moving towards the future here.
I do have one more question, but I think Selectman Bruno had questions.
I'm good, Chris. Go ahead.
Okay, I apologize.
Thank you.
Is there any kind of process for people who improperly sort their garbage?
That's a great question. So, from what I understand, we have Waste Zero, which has been contracted as the consultant for DEEP. They are going to be, first of all, they'll have an app that everyone can download on their phone where they can gather data, not just data about is it working or not, but questions and thoughts and comments. Another thing Waste Zero is going to be doing is the bags will be barcoded, not connected to any personal information, but simply to understand neighborhoods and general things like that, to understand participation. And they will spot check some of the bags. No one will be penalized, but it helps them understand, okay, so this person didn't realize that, you have to unpackage the food before you put it in. So instead of, making a phone call to that person like they're, principal calling the mom, it's...
I was a little worried about that.
It's really not like that. It's about education and outreach, to know specific things connected, and you're not going to have somebody snooping through your trash.
How would you get, I'm going to piggyback off the app that you mentioned. I was very surprised at how few people have, that there's a significant number of people that have no internet-connected computers in their houses at all. I'm not just talking about old gateways. What would the education, is that something we would take care of, or you? What would the education process be for people who are more analog?
Yeah, so in addition to the 8 grants that John mentioned, NBCOG itself also submitted a grant. We were proposing to do the education and outreach piece for all of our towns. We had several different ideas. You make a good point that not everyone is going to be connected to the internet. Most people, I think, have mobile devices, but we were thinking about a variety of things, from public information sessions, both virtually and in person. The issue is that we do need DEEP to give us the grant to do that, and it is still up in the air about how much we will be funded. It seems relatively certain we will be getting a grant. We just don't know.
Assured us we're going to get something.
Yeah, we're going to get something, but
It might not necessarily be 121K.
right.
Well, no, that's
so
for the
you guys.
town of Seymour. For us, we have a
Okay,
grant to do
okay.
outreach. And part of the program is to reach the analog sector, as you
Yes,
mentioned, the
absolutely.
elderly or people who aren't necessarily connected. And that involves, like Christine said, even through newspapers, which I believe some people are still reading, and mailers and things like that we can do to reach
Right.
the non-electronic crowd.
It sounds quaint until it's not, is basically my concern. So I do want to make sure that those people get considered.
Absolutely.
Any other select persons have any other comments? Trish, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Selectman Stanek?
If I may, through the chair.
Through the chair.
If I may ask, you talked about savings with regard to our trash removal. The trash is being picked up, sent to a location to be sorted, and then sent to two different locations. Where is the cost savings?
Sure, so it's actually a lower tipping fee for sending the organics to Quantum Biopower because they generate something out of it. They have a product that they sell, which is energy. So that lower tipping fee would increase savings. The other thing is that you'll simply be sending less trash. We see people change their habits and produce less trash as a result of it, so your tonnages are going to be lower and you're going to be paying to transport less trash.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Madam First Selectwoman, would that reflect in what we currently pay our trash the company we go through?
Rory?
So, if you recall back to when we renegotiated the contract, there's two components to our trash bills,
Yes.
right? We have the curbside pickup through Oak Ridge, which is a fixed per unit cost.
Right.
And then there is what's called the tipping fee that she mentioned, that is the per ton cost of waste disposed. And we have a long-term contract with Bristol Resources in Bristol, which is one of the trash to energy plants that John mentioned, to take all of our municipal solid waste for disposal. And so, you know,
So it wouldn't affect what we're paying Winners Brothers? Or whatever they're called now.
so
Oak Ridge.
yeah, so Oak Ridge, no, right? That's the curbside pickup
Right.
component. That's the fixed per unit cost.
Mhm.
What we're looking at, what we talked about when we renegotiated that contract, right, was trying to find some way to move the needle on our garbage costs.
The tipping fee.
And so the two components are what we have to look at. In terms of the curbside pickup, we're still trying to look at options. The issues being the cycle that our contract's on. You know, we can look at doing it internally. We're kind of running the numbers a little bit, but they're not great, right? Oak Ridge has 2 trucks that they run every day, and that assumes no breakdowns, right? That's complicated. You need staffing for those trucks, that bring more people on, salary and benefits, that gets very costly very quickly. And then, of course, the cans that we would need to purchase, which we discussed at that one as well, right?
Right.
So really our best opportunity to move the needle is by trying to reduce our tonnage. And so this
Which is
an
your tipping
option
fee.
to investigate whether removing organic waste from our waste stream is an option for how we do that.
So, along those lines, so, I mean, we're taking food out that reduces our tonnage to Bristol?
Correct. It
Correct.
reduces the number of tons that we pay our fixed tipping fee in Bristol.
That brings me to one more question, and hopefully this is it. I know Oak Ridge picks up on a set schedule, and I know Selectman Finley brought that up. Would this be a separate pickup?
No, so basically when we were looking to apply for this grant, we were asked to identify different municipalities approach it differently. We decided that we would choose 1 day's worth of pickup a week for the pilot, so that we could kind of see if there's a difference between days. We looked at all the different routes, trying to identify which might be the best indicator. We chose Monday, which is very roughly the Skokoret area of town.
Yeah.
Because you have new development, you have kind of mid-century development and older development, all within the same area. We thought it's nice to have a cross-section of town as best as the garbage routes, you know.
Plus you got the school, Claire, et cetera.
So you're gonna have food in a different color for the food bag and a different color for others, and you're still gonna have the recycling, correct?
Correct. So
That's what I wanna make
with
sure I
recycling, it's different now. Several years ago, most recycling would go to China and similar countries. They stopped accepting a lot of mixed recycling, which is what we do. And so what used to be, we get reimbursements per ton of recycled material. That amount decreased dramatically, which is one of the reasons we saw such a significant increase. We renegotiated our contract. There's no offset something completely different. We're just talking about the garbage.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about, throw this out as an opportunity, is you have the, we probably struggle with what goes in our garbage versus our recycling bin, period, just with the two different color barrels. Now we're saying, okay, now we're gonna have different color bags in one, and recycling still stays in the other. I feel that might be an issue for us.
Sure, it's why the education component is so important. I'm sure, everyone remembers when it wasn't safe for recycling. You had to keep your paper separate from your glass, from your aluminum. I think that's probably the future. I think we'll probably end up back there, but for the time being.
Selectman Lombardi? Any other questions?
I think that's it.
Thank you. Selectman.
Yeah, I just had one quick question. So, this may be an ignorant question, but if Quantum Biopowers is making money by converting the organic waste into electricity, why are we paying them?
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to answer that. Just as with trash to energy plants, which, Covanta turns your trash into energy, just as Quantum Biopower will be doing, they are a waste disposal company first. The amount of electricity they make, they're not making, abundant money off of that. It is something that offsets their costs of it.
Doesn't sustain it. It's not their primary.
They are, yeah, just
Okay.
like all the trash to energy plants, they're a waste disposal business, not one.
Okay. Thank you. That clarifies it.
Is there any further questioning? Okay. With that, can I please have a motion to approve the resolution as presented in the package?
So moved.
Motion by Chris Bowen, second by Al Bruno. Discussion?
Will there be, I'm sorry, we're gonna note that when should we revisit this? After 6 months, 9?
Your motion is actually then to authorize first selectmen to execute any document necessary to apply for the grant modification of the energy plan program for the
You don't expect me to say all that, do you?
Yep.
Pilot program.
For the pilot program not to exceed.
waste program.
Yes.
Yeah. what
Sarah,
is
did
that?
you get that? Okay, so the motion is to allow me to, yeah. First selectwoman. You said first selectman.
First select person.
Brian's always testing.
Motion to authorize the first selectman to execute any all documents necessary to apply for the grant funds from the state Department of Environmental Protection Sustainable Material Management Program for a pilot program for waste collection in the amount of
Got it, Sarah? Okay. Give a second?
I said.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Well, hold on.
Oh, discussion?
Rory, when are
Holy hell.
when is there gonna be, will we have numbers that we can review in this
So
process?
remember, this is a pilot program. It's not a permanent change. The grant funds the program.
Yep.
It's a 9-month program. At the end of that, we'll have some numbers. We'll be able to look at, if you guys recall, we did the scale project, transfer station. We'll be able to track the amount of waste that's brought in. That's how we'll essentially determine whether this is worthwhile.
Okay.
If we're diverting enough waste to make.
You're gonna have to establish a baseline with that same route though.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I also, I know we'll have numbers at the end of 9 months, but there's gonna be a flex period where the program ends and we're able to make a decision. So, can we get
It would
those?
not be immediate.
Okay, because I just want to make sure that we have time to review this and say yes or no before
We are-
everything cuts off.
There is no permanent change being proposed, right? So this is
Just
an
a pilot.
opportunity to generate data.
Right.
So that we can evaluate moving forward
Right.
whether we want to make a permanent change. But there's no plan to do
That's
so.
why it's called a pilot, right?
Well, what I'm hoping to do is get the information that we need before the end of the pilot, so that we know where we're going after 9 months.
Just be able to see other towns.
That's
pilot
everybody else.
program data. Okay, I know that's not you.
That's something that maybe
Sure. Every single, we have 8 applications in, and pretty much all unique. So there's, I don't believe we have one, any other town, one. We have one for the whole city. Yeah, one for it's more glass recycling, it's a little different. Shelter district, or one for the city, but it has primarily glass recycling, one of the components in there. Because that's the city's issue specific to the city. However, certainly across the state with all these grants, there will be some that you can compare to
Did a
as
motion
far as
already.
what is being produced percentage-wise in organic. Yeah, Meriden also, I did one earlier this year.
Yeah, I'd like to see this. When we're doing our comparison from our
Yeah.
data, then we'd like to compare out what
So the pilot program would be, it says here, deep has approved us for $120,000. Our pilot program will start when?
That's a good question, because DEEP has kind of shifted the goalposts on us a couple of times on it. One that we were expecting to start in September is now pushed back. We spoke with the town about it. It's a transportation program to January. So I think this January would be the latest it would start. The earliest it would start is sometime in the fall. We that has to be determined once. Approving this resolution moves it forward to sooner than later.
And we would give the residents well enough notice when we're going to start.
Absolutely. It's not going to be something that's unveiled
Yep.
a week after, or
Yep.
2 weeks after.
Right.
There'd be a lot of outreach, because it wouldn't benefit anyone if we did something like that. We'd be throwing it on you too quickly for the proof that it's going to be. Benefits everyone to give a good amount of notice, education, outreach, lots of time for them to ask questions ahead of time, or else it's kind of.
Exactly. We have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair vote, Trish votes aye, chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Item number 7. No, I'm sorry. Discussion and take possible action regarding the memorandum of understanding with Bird Rides to provide electric scooters to the town of Seymour. If you remember correctly, this was brought to us at our last meeting earlier this month. A couple of the selectmen had a couple of questions, some concerns. So now we have Sheila O'Malley is here, hopefully to be able to answer some questions, as well as the Bird Ride people are on Zoom. Ha. Hi. Good evening.
For Selectwoman Dragonis and members of the Board of Selectmen. I'm going to try a different approach with everybody here tonight. This is purely to bring some attention, some enthusiasm, and some fun to the downtown. There is no obligation on the part of the town. There's no liability on the part of the town. They're looking for a place to bring the scooters, drop them off. It generates some excitement and fun and brings young people into the downtown. And I think, that's kind of what you want to do. So I'm trying again. Jeremy is here to answer all of the difficult questions, I hope. But,
Okay.
thought I would approach it that way.
If we have questions, they will go through the chair, so we don't have people speaking over each other like we did the last meeting. Everybody has questions
Okay,
jumping
that's
in.
fine.
It was not.
Okay.
It's
It
just,
was not
it's just
fun.
hard for the.
It's
clerk
hard
to
for the
catch.
clerk to capture
Got it.
everything.
Okay.
No offense, sir.
All right, yeah.
Who, Al and,
Oh, they went off.
Mine keeps going off.
Yeah.
Some time running.
I think the battery's low. It's blinking. It's got one left, one bar.
Mine's fresh, but that's the benefit of missing.
Yeah, too many questions.
He's exceeded his.
You asked too many questions and you exceeded its time.
Oh, it's rejecting
You
me.
get one battery per meeting.
It's like my Alexa. Told me to stop.
So while we're doing that, there's scooters in front of the Naugatuck YMCA.
Yes.
Is it the same company?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Does any select member have any questions they need to ask? They would like to ask? Trish, hold on a minute. Selectwoman Trish.
Hi Sheila, I understand the purpose and I get the enthusiasm, but it's still a very small area, so I'm just not, I need to understand better where they're going to.
Where you,
I'm not comfortable with it because of our locale, and that's really it at this point. I would need to really understand the point of having them other than bringing enthusiasm. They can't be used on the sidewalk. There'd be main roads people are using them for. We have the brick sidewalks, and the downtown is very small. And I'm thinking if you can't walk the downtown, you're probably not going to be a good candidate to get on the scooter anyhow. So that's just simply where my thoughts are. So I'm not understanding, other than the excitement of having a scooter to be on, what we're trying to do.
I mean, I think Jeremy can answer this, but you choose the route, you choose the parameters of the program, where you want the scooters to be dropped off at, and where you want people riding them. So it's entirely up to the town. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Everybody can hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm doing this off my phone because the computer didn't work that well, but excellent. So, yes, it is a small community. It's a lot smaller footprint, and I could say that the footprint's probably about as big as Fairfield, but it's a different type of community and a different mindset. So in Fairfield, just to give you an example, the operating zone is basically from 95 down to the water. So it doesn't include the rest of Fairfield, because those aren't just riding areas. There's not going to be people where they're going to ride. So we can create those areas where the scooters are basically penned in, let's put it that way. So there's a small area in which they're written. Now, obviously, there's differences in the communities, but they can operate in those smaller subsets. You wouldn't have the same amount of scooters that necessarily that Fairfield would have. I think on average there are about 55 scooters, 60 scooters in that area from the top of Bridgeport down to Southport all the way to the bottom. And that's what they go through on any given day. They're averaging over 2 rides per scooter per day, which is great. I don't expect that in Seymour. What I'd expect is about half of that will be out on any given day, maybe 20 to 25, maybe to 30 on a busier day. And yeah, I would not say it is one of the communities that I would say, you do have a train station, and I will give, that is one of the big things that we have found is that the to and from for residents to get to and from that train station, whether it be from their home or a distant parking lot or things like that, or even to get home from the train station, we do see that as a popular use case for a lot of people to use. People that want to get around now that maybe would not want to drive their cars, save gas on the heat, and I'm in the south coast of Massachusetts right now, it's blazing hot here, be able to walk around without necessarily having to, get around without having to walk. There are a lot of use cases. And again, I couldn't tell you what all of them are. But what we're looking for here is just a shot to see how the program works in the next 3 or 4 months. Hey, if it works well, we're glad to come back next spring and see how it's rolled out then. If it doesn't work, there's a seasonal program. So they obviously come off the ground when it gets cold, too dangerous to ride in the winter weather. There's plenty of time to evaluate the program. How did we do? Not something we want to go for, perfectly fine. We would see that as well. Our fleet manager, the local person who manages the fleet, would know that as well. They're not getting the rides because, with every ride that gets taken, that fleet manager makes money. They get a percentage of the ride revenue. They actively want to be getting as many scooters ridden as possible. So they're wanting to put them in places where they get rides and keeping them out of areas where they're simply not going to get rides. And so, we would evaluate the program along with the city itself, because you would have access to
Selectman Bowen?
Few questions. One, how does your service compare to Lime? And the reason I ask about Lime specifically is because Lime, you can pretty much rent a bike or a scooter and drop it off right then and there, wherever you go, basically. Whereas here, you're indicating that there would be a drop-off pen.
No, anywhere.
Oh, okay, so it is like that. What would be, because we don't have, you mentioned Fairfield, which is wonderful, but Fairfield is completely different in terms of logistics. Two major universities, Route 1 is completely open. We've basically got a downtown area of three brick sidewalks, and then right off the bat you're on Route 67, which is kind of hazardous. Walkable to a point, but once you get to a certain part, you're running out of road. Sorry?
I'm making my comments in my head. These are for roads, these are not for sidewalks.
Okay, so
Tonight, they'll be riding on 67.
so we're talking about riding scooters on Route 67?
Yep.
Okay, now I guess my next question would be for our council in terms of liability.
Are you asking me, or is that just a general question you're throwing out?
No, I'm asking the lawyer.
You know, I haven't seen
Let's start.
the memorandum of agreement or memorandum of understanding, but I assume that they're just asking your permission to cite these scooters. From what I've seen in Fairfield, there are little clumps of them left around town, and it appears the vendor must move them during the nighttime.
Yeah,
Because
they charge
otherwise
us
they'd all
signs.
accumulate at the
Sometimes
beach.
They have some in
charge us,
Naugatuck. I
Yeah,
saw them at the
so
Y.
someone must move them. So I would make sure that the agreement has insurance and the town listed as an additional insured with sufficient liability and, you know, defense indemnification language in the event someone decides to sue the town for whatever reason, as opposed to the scooter operator or the scooter company.
Selectman Bruno?
So,
And your attorney's correct, that in the MOU, there is indemnification language, the insurance language, and we would name Seymour as additional insured on our COI.
I had a question last meeting about risk analysis and risk management. I'd like to get a little data on what the numbers are and what the plan is for that kind of. Did it? I didn't see it.
It may not be in the packet, there's some URLs in the email.
Okay.
All right, well, I didn't see that. But, all right, so I'll review that. But the other piece is, I think why the board's struggling is we really just don't understand the basic functionality of how this is going to work in our town. What happens, how many scooters we would get with our population, where they would be posted, what are some suggested parameters around our town structure to do this. I don't understand why it's on us to make that decision. I'd like to have it explained to us a little bit better. But can you just let me finish? Could you just let me finish? I think that's what we're struggling with. We haven't gotten an outline of what this would look like in Seymour for us to wrap our heads around it and say yes or no to it. And I think that's why you're getting pushback.
No, that's a good point. So I agree. That's generally what we do when we get into the launch process. I've done 3 in the last few days. And what I do is I create a map, my maps, which is the Google aspect, right? And create an operating zone. You would see that I've created an operating zone for Seymour that wouldn't obviously encompass the entire town, but would be an area where the scooters are to be ridden. And if they leave that zone, they're not able to be ridden outside. They actually come to a stop. You have to bring them back in or it's going to be operational. So I would create that area in the operating area and allow the city to offer their opinion on the operating zone, smaller, bigger, gives you the ability to zone out particular parks and or cemetery, things like that, where you can create no ride zones. So if a scooter rides into it, it comes to a stop. So if there are parameters by which we can set so the scooters can't go into particular places and where they are permitted to go. So that's something we can create. We can also create, give you an idea of what we look at as far as potential nesting locations in the morning. And when I say nesting locations, that's where the scooters will be placed in the mornings. So they'd be placed in groups of 2 to 4 in particular areas where they think that traffic in morning time would be more advantageous for scooter riders to go. And again, there's not an exact science on picking those locations at the beginning. It's kind of what the data is for. After about a week or so of scooter usage, they get an idea of where those hotspots are, where people are picking them up and dropping them off. And then through that use of the data and seeing, because we track all the rides, we'd be able to see where the scooters are being picked up and dropped off, and really only be placing scooters in those particular areas, because if they're not being dropped off or picked up in spots, they're simply just not going to put them in strange locations, because if there are no rides emanating from there, why would you start there? So we use a lot of that stuff. Again, I could pick out particular parking locations that I think would be good. The scooters do ride on the street. They aren't permitted to ride on the sidewalks. So they ride anywhere a bike would go. So, and I don't mean, since the Tour is on now, not those kind of bikes, the Tour de France, but I mean like a banana bike or a mountain bike, things like that. That's the kind of roads we would ride on, and they ride on the side of the road like those vehicles do. So I can certainly create something for you and share that with you to give you a better perspective of what it looks like. To be honest, I think the operating agreement may be more helpful than the MOU. The operating agreement lays out more of the roles and responsibilities for Bird and what you would expect from us. That's as it relates to parking, as it relates to operations. So you'll get a better glimpse of what we commit to in that agreement. So with what I find in a lot of communities, especially in the Northeast, it sets them at ease a little more about what to expect. So for instance, that MOU is vague. Some communities, that's fine. Other communities require a little more, and that's not a problem for me. I find the operating agreement provides that kind of clarity and more specificity that you were looking for, so I can certainly provide that to you as well. But that's helpful.
Yeah, I think it would be. Yeah.
Thank you, Selectman Brunel.
I'm going to throw it out to the board from a recommendation standpoint. So he mentioned something about a pilot. Here's the reality of this. So if we are legally indemnified from from anything, if we do allow this to go into a pilot phase, what could potentially happen is we try it. We recognize what our fears are, that no one's going to use it, or it's going to be used very little, and they're not going to continue to keep those scooters in that area. So, to have the opportunity to try this, we see other towns have done it. It's been somewhat successful. I think we would want to understand the layout of where's the structure going to be, right, or where we're going to ride. But if they don't find a business model in Seymour, they're not going to maintain these scooters here. So from a trial perspective, I would throw it out to the board that maybe we want to do that, and we'll recognize whether our fears are are true or not, especially if there's no legal ramifications to it.
If I may, Madam Chairwoman,
Second, Stan?
just because there's an indemnification agreement doesn't mean the town will not be sued. If there's a liability situation, the town will be sued, and then it's up to council or insurance council to defend the town and get us out of the lawsuit, the action as a result of the indemnification agreement. Still potentially costing us money, still potentially causing an increase in insurance rates in the future. Having said that, I agree, I concur with the comments of Tristanka that I don't think Seymour's configured in the proper way for the use of these scooters. And we don't have a destination like a beach in Fairfield or a state park. I just see problems with Route 67 being so busy, so congested, and the scooters having problems with traffic. So I'm not in favor of this proposal.
I would float that I think about Fairfield and Route 1, right? So that main drag in Fairfield, that and that's a pretty busy road, and a Bridgeport, and I would defer to what type of problems they may have had in those towns to see. Has there been problems in Fairfield or Bridgeport, or?
Natural things that come up, generally like the scooters being parked in bad locations, a business owner worrying about a scooter parked out in front of the location. But the local FM literally lives within 5 minutes of downtown, so he's able to address those problems. Mark Barnhart is our contact, the economic development director or community development director in Fairfield. I know he'd be happy to talk to anybody that would call, give his lowdown on the program. And they're worlds apart, to be honest, compared to Seymour. But to be honest, the question about the universities. So the universities aren't included in the operating zone currently. The Sacred Heart is way at the top. We don't even have the scooters up there yet. Fairfield University is still blocked off, so no scooters.
You
can
can't
ride
get
on
across the
campus.
95, right?
Yeah, they can't cross over.
Right.
And so there's no college students currently on campus. I mean, Fairfield doesn't start until the first week of September, I believe, and Sacred Heart middle to late August. So I would have looking for arrangements with those folks later. So those two schools alone is apples and oranges comparing, Fairfield to Seymour. And so I would just look at it like that. The number of students in Fairfield is going to increase because of the students. I'm still looking at a number between 20 and 35 for Seymour. And if it would pick up, great. We'd add some more with your permission. But that's all I'm looking for to start. It would be no big number, nothing like you'd see in Fairfield. And 50 plus or as close to 60 on an average basis in Fairfield is actually not a big number for us. But the rides are great. And they're riding well there and everything's going well. I would just say that, it's space, it's a comparison, but not in, obviously, the volume of people that are in that area and the scooters, of course, too. But I happily, you can easily, anytime you'd like to contact Mark, I know he'd be willing to talk to folks about it.
Thank you. How old do you have to be to operate these scooters?
18.
How do they work? Like, how does one get them to work?
So you basically sign up on the app, you download the app on Google Play or the App Store.
Yep.
And sign up in that regard. So Fairfield has a driver's license requirement. Some cities do not. When you sign the rental agreement, you're attesting that you're 18 years of age, and you have to have a debit or a credit card in your name in order to be able to sign up for the program. And that's that partial process. You go through a riding tutorial, riding, parking, and general overall treatment of the vehicles. You have to go through an 8-slide tutorial. You have to go through the slides. At the end, there's a set of local rules that will be customizable to each community. So each community has their own rules. Like you talked about Post Road. Post Road is a slow zone for the scooters. The top speed on the scooters is 15 miles an hour on Post Road. I can't remember the cross streets at either end, but it drops down to 12 miles an hour, so it slows down in that really busy area. We find it's helpful for members to be more cognizant of where their surroundings are if it's on a busy road. But after that, once they're approved, they basically, on the app itself, there's a QR code scan on top of the scooter itself. You scan into it, the scooter becomes available to you, and then you basically have to get the scooter into motion before the throttle will be engaged, and then you're off. And so that's a simple process. The driver's license requirement we have in Fairfield and several other communities are ones they want to institute, which we do. Some communities choose not to do that because some of the people that are generally using the scooters may not have a driver's license. They may not be from this country, so it's up to the community itself. So we can require it. Simply for us, hitting a toggle switch on the back end, and will require driver's licenses to be used when members join.
What happens if a scooter gets damaged? Who's responsible for that scooter?
Bird is responsible unless we can prove that there was some negligence on the part of the rider, which is generally very hard to do. And so that's one of the things that is part of the fleet manager's role, is to the upkeep of the scooters. There's a lot of sensors on the scooters that tell us if there's any issues with them: low tire pressure, low tire tread, brake failure, things like that. Those are the things we know well in advance. That fleet manager takes care of. But all of that falls on the member and or bird. Most of the time it's bird, because again, proving those accidents is very difficult to do. And we know that damage to the scooter is going to be part of doing business. We have for the last 5 years. That's been a part of our program for as long as we've been in existence.
Madam First Selectwoman, this is what it looks like on the app that I mentioned earlier. It'll ask people to upload their driver's license to use they have bikes and scooters. That's a requirement for them, so. Without that, it won't even engage. It would engage a lock on a bike and
Okay. Is there any other select person who has any other questions, comments, or concerns? Trish? I can't see. Yep, okay. Okay. So I guess I will, what number are we on? 7. Ask for a motion to take action regarding the memorandum of understanding with the Birds Rides to provide electric scooters to the town. All in favor?
wait, do we have a motion?
Wait,
First Selectwoman.
I'm done making motions tonight.
The motion, it shouldn't be necessarily to take action, but the action should be specified. Is it a motion to authorize the first Selectwoman to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Bird Rides to provide electric scooters in such form as is acceptable to the town attorney's office? Or to the converse, and then that could be your motion, and it can either pass or fail if you want the town to proceed with an MOU.
Right.
So that would be the appropriate motion.
Yep,
to
what Brian
specify
just said.
The action. No, she said to take action, but you have to specify what
Oh.
the action
Yeah,
is.
yeah, you're right.
Motion is on the floor by attorney. All in favor?
Well, no,
It's
someone's
a
got to
so
make that
moved.
motion, as I
Somebody
suggested.
So-
You gotta make the motion.
I'm done tonight. Can I have a motion? Go ahead.
As articulated by the town attorney.
As articulated by a town attorney,
Someone-
but you're gonna have to repeat it again for Sarah, because you
You
spoke
got it,
too
didn't
low.
you get it? She got it, she got it.
As long as you're doing the understanding when you're gonna enter it.
Yeah, it's a motion to authorize the first selectwoman to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Bluebird Rides to provide electric scooters to the town of Seymour in such form as is acceptable by the town attorney's office.
So moved.
Motion by Bob Finley. Second.
No one second it.
No second. Motion died on the floor. Okay. So we'll take that, no scooters in Seymour.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing up the idea. Anyway, we really appreciate that.
Fine, thank you.
Keep
Num-
trying.
Consider it.
Number 8, says special town meeting for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022 at 6:45 in the Norma Drummer Room at Seymour Town Hall. We're going to break these down. One is a supplemental appropriation for American Rescue Plan Act funds in excess of $100,000 air packs for the Seymour Fire Department. Chief Chris Edwards is here to explain to the board what this is. Chief?
Okay, why don't we get a motion and a second, and we'll do it under discussion.
Absolutely. Thank you. Can I have a motion?
I wish to make a motion to set a special town meeting for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022 at 6:45 PM in the Norma Drummer Room regarding supplemental appropriations of American Rescue Plan Act funds in excess of $100,000 for air packs for the Seymour Fire Department. Do I need a second separate motion for the second item?
I think the first selectwoman indicated that you were going to one at a time.
One at a time.
Okay, so that takes one.
Second.
Second.
Second by Bob Finley. Discussion.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. This is a plan put together to replace our air packs. Currently, the Seymour Fire Department has 54 air packs. These are the packs that were on our backs that we go into fires with.
SCBA's?
Yes. The plan you have in front of you is for 20 packs. We're doing them on a 3-year rotation basis, so the life expectancy is about 15 years, so within 10 years, we don't have to look at buying a full 54 packs again. We can put a replacement plan in as we buy those, so we don't have to come to the town and say, we need $400,000 for packs. So the paperwork you have that Rory gave you is for 20 packs to start us off in the this fiscal year of $129,000. And then next year, out of that fund, we will do another 20, and after the third year, we'll do the remaining 14. These packs go with the bottles that we purchased within the last 5 years. Those bottles are on a replacement, those bottles go into their packs. So now this is just the second part of that replacement. Questions on the pack?
Is there any questions for Chief Edwards?
No, but I do like the phased approach, so this way you're not one bulk
Yeah, we're
order.
just trying to put for all our high-ticket equipment, we're trying to put a replacement plan in so we're not getting hit. Like we did with the radios 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Where we came and ended up being 1.5 million. Redo all our radios. We're trying not to do that. We're trying to break it up into years. Every year we might be buying something, but it's a lot less money than if we had to go out.
No, I
and buy
recognize that.
everything.
That's why I like, that's good. That's very good.
Okay. You ready?
No.
Go on.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Chair votes aye. Noes? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Supplemental, can I have a motion on the floor for a supplemental appropriation for the American Rescue Act funds in excess of $100,000 for underground storage tank remediation?
So moved.
Motion by Bob Finley.
Seconded.
Second by Pat Lombardi. Discussion.
And the motion for the record would specifically include setting a special town meeting for August 2nd, 2022 at 6:45.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Did I have to read the first one too, even though I said that we're going to make them in a second?
With a separate motion to make it clear, so there's no issues. Yes. I can make the motions.
I'm done tonight. Okay. Can I have a motion, a discussion?
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Things has to be done.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 9. Discussion and take possible action to authorize LoCIP funding for hazardous tree removals in the amount of $48,100. In your packet, you have a list. You have a grant application that Dee put out, and it lists the streets and the trees and the amount that it would be done. Can I have a motion?
I will make a motion,
Motion by Fred Stanek.
I will second.
if I may. I move to authorize the LoCIP funding for hazardous tree removal in the amount of $48,100.
Thank you, Fred.
Motion
I'll-
by Fred. Can I have a
I'll second it.
Second by Bob Finley. Discussion. All
When would this take place? Any idea?
We have to get the funding first.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Discussion and take possible action regarding the memorandum of understanding for the Homeland Security Grant Program. This is a grant program that we do every single year. And it's basically from the town clerk's office to supply any information to the Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security, for any and all paperwork or documents they may request. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Pat Lombardi,
Second.
second by Al Bruno. Discussion.
Just to be clear for the record, Mr. Lombardi's motion was, right, first, the last one was.
Enter into agreement of memorandum of understanding for the Homeland Security Grant Program.
For clarification, it was moved seconded, any discussion?
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Glad you took Mr. Leclerc's microphone away from him. Because something was going to happen with it. Discussion to
I
take
was gonna
possible.
make going out on a limb joke, but I'm afraid to now. I'm not making any jokes.
Discussion
You're
and
barking up
take
the wrong
possible
tree.
action regarding the tax abatement for the George J. Hummel Little League property located at 14 Chestnut Street. As you know, George J. Hummel Little League has been at Casa Grande Field since 1950, and the property receives an abatement as long as it continues to be a 5013C organization, and as long as it stays property of the George J. Hummel Little League. Should George J. Hummel Little League no longer be, then the property reverts back to the Casa Grande family. And I have a motion to
Take action.
take action regarding, take action for the tax abatement for George J. Hummel Little League property.
So moved.
Motion by Bob Finley,
Second.
second by Al Bruno.
And
Discussion.
the discussion is, this is the first year I haven't seen Mr. Lang send this note in.
I know.
This is, it just hit me, so,
Mr. Finley, for the record, your motion was to approve the tax abatement, correct?
yes.
Yes.
Well, the action is stated in the,
Action is stated in the motion.
No, the motion was to take possible action regarding what the action could be to.
She said to take action.
Regarding tax abatement.
Abatement, regarding the tax abatement.
Right. Arguably, the
To
action
approve it.
should not approve this tax.
It is to approve.
very good point.
Discussion that Mr. Lang did not sign it. Can I, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chris. Motion carries 601. Please note Chris Bowen's abstainment. Item number 12, executive session, litigation with Connecticut properties. Can I have a motion to go into an executive session,
So
please?
moved.
Motion by Alberno.
What, you want to add to it?
Oh, with Al. Could I have a motion to please go into an executive session,
You have to say
include all
please.
the Board of Selectmen plus the Attorney Leclerc and Rory Burke?
And it's to discuss pending litigation,
Litigation
specifically
with-
the case of James Baldwin, building official, versus Goodyear Property Management and Connecticut
That's not
Properties.
here. Otherwise known as,
No, it includes Goodyear Property Management and Connecticut Properties,
Okay.
just so we have it clear
Yeah.
for FOIA purposes.
Sarah, do you have that? Good. Have a motion?
I'll make the motion as
Second.
articulated by counsel Leclerc.
Yes.
Second by Al Bruno, going to executive session at 8:10. Thank you.
Yep, as soon as Sarah's ready. Sarah, you all set? Yep. So I'll make a motion that we come out of executive session at 8:35, and for the record, no actions or votes were taken.
All in favor? Abstain?
Aye.
Motion carries. 6-0-1.
We'll also back online.
Okay. First selectwoman's report. I'll try not to make this too long if I'm going to run long. Our land use department has brought to our attention, some unethical things that have been done by contractors that were not really licensed contractors. They went and took our permit and they made it and modified it and showed higher prices on it than what the town was actually charging. And it took an older gentleman, for a lot of money and no work was done. So we're asking the residents to please, go through our land use board, see if this is the actual permit, go to the Consumer Protection Agency, do your research on the contractors that you're going to use, and understand that if you need a permit, you're gonna get it through the building department, and it's gonna have the senior official name on it, and all our fees are on the website. Just a reminder that we have a couple of community farms in town, one is a community center, one is across the street in the library. These fresh produces are free to everybody. All they ask is that you do a little weeding and you can pick some tomatoes that are not in yet, but some peppers or some vegetables. All they ask is that you do some free weeding and you get free produce. On the trash pickup, I've noticed a lot more people are putting on Facebook, my trash didn't get picked up. Just to let everybody know, I don't monitor the Facebook page 24/7. Our staff doesn't monitor it 24/7. If your trash is not being picked up on the day of your pickup or on the delayed day due to a holiday, please call the first selectman's office and please let the staff know, because we can then call, the garbage disposal, Oak Ridge, and let them know to come back the next day. Oh, thank you. Trash needs to be picked up on a day. There is no set time, it's a day. So if it doesn't come by 5 o'clock, then, you can instant message me, or you can tell us the next day and we'll have Oak Ridge go back. Last Sunday on the 10th, I stopped by Seymour's own Arabella's, Alex's Lemonade Stand over by Shell. She was raising money for, the cancer's, children with kids. It's nice to see our young community giving back. Also, congratulations to the George J. Hummel Seymour 8-under Future Stars for winning the state championship last Friday. Remember, we had Kaylee come here. She was doing Carson. She was coming here. She did the Gold Star, which is Eagleton Eagle Scout. She did that Leviathan over on the corner of Day and Pearl. Well, the Leviathan is now done, and she needs people to go there to walk the Leviathan and to do the survey. So there's actually a QRC reader you held up to your phone. It comes up, the survey comes in, you answer the survey. Once she has the surveys, she can then submit it and she can get her Gold Star Award.
Where is this?
On the corner of Day and, on Pearl and Day Street. Yep. Finally, there is a lot of stuff happening in town. There's a lot of things going on. And I hate it that I cannot share it with people because I am very transparent and I like to let everybody know. But there are some things that I just cannot state because I don't want to say something and it not happen, like we had with the COVID test. Oh, we're having COVID test ends out, and then we didn't get the COVID test, and then I had to explain to everybody why. So once I have the information and I have the go-ahead, I can say it, I will let everybody know. And finally, actually, it's 2 more things. Out of the 5 businesses with the fire that burnt downtown, out of those 5 businesses, 2 of them have actually relocated downtown. The Rowan Betty's is on the corner of Wakely and Bank, and the massage parlor is going in on Main Street. So that's great. 2 out of the 5. We're hoping the other 3 can get up running soon. And one more thing is our land use in our building department is starting to come down on unattentive landlords. If you're a landlord and have apartments in Seymour and you are not maintaining them and you're letting them run down and you're not bringing them up to code, we will let you know that the land use and the building department are starting to come after you, because we want our town to look nice and we want our residents to have a safe place to live. That's all I have on my Selectwoman's report. Thank you. Into appointments, number 4.
May I inquire?
Oh, absolutely.
The matter with regard to the permit fraud,
Yes.
has that been referred to the state's attorney's office?
Rory did it? I don't know. I think they may have contacted the gentleman and he gave the money back to the
okay.
person. I think, I know
so
the-
it's been resolved.
It's been resolved. The
Okay.
police got involved, so,
Okay, good.
yes, it's been resolved.
Good point.
Thank
That's
you.
what
Good point.
cops-
But yeah, we won't tolerate this in Seymour.
No, it's fraud, it's
Fraud.
criminal.
A lot of stuff going on in Seymour. We just don't tolerate stuff anymore.
Well, it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
The economy goes bad, and this is the reaction.
Okay, so on your appointment list, okay, appointments, Nicholas Cass, Sustainability Committee, it's a reappointment for 2 years, 7/19/2024.
So moved.
Motion by Chris Bowen, second by Bob Finley, all in favor?
Discussion?
Let's go, sorry, discussion. Any discussion?
No, I was just saying, we should
Oh.
have discussion.
Okay,
Should at least ask.
you're right now, I should ask, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Stephen Dittrich, Administrative Assistant to the First Selectwoman, its appointment is 2-year concurrent with the First Select Person. It expires 12/4/2023. A little history, as you know, Rory was appointed to a contract position, and he was the charter-appointed position to the First Select Person. So Stephen will come in as the administrative to the First Selectman as per the charter. Motion?
Oh, sorry. So moved.
Motion by Chris Bowen,
Second.
second by Bob Finley, discussion.
I do have a question. Isn't this Stephen Perry's role?
Nope, Stephen Perry is the assistant to the administration. Assistant to the administrative, he's the assistant to the administrative. What is his assistant? So Stephen is actually the assistant to the First Select Person. He's the assistant to the Stephen Perry is a union contract
Okay.
position, how's that?
Where Stephen is serving at your pleasure, or our pleasure, basically. Okay.
Any other discussion? All, go ahead, Al.
Yeah, I was just, so what are
Stephen
Steve's
becomes,
duties?
Stephen will be my Rory, is what Rory used to do
Okay,
for Kurt. He was in charge of the calendar, setting the appointments, being my voice where I can't be. So he was Rory before Rory became the chief of staff, before Rory became the chief administrative officer.
Is this a paid position?
Yep,
Okay,
and there's money already in the budget.
that's fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Noes? Motion carries 7-0. Tax refund and abatements in your package is the tax refund and abatements. Please review and let me know if there's any issues. If not, please make a motion.
Make a motion to accept the abatements as presented.
Motion by Trish,
Seconded.
second by Chris. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. There are no transfers. I think August 5th, there'll be some transfers. Correspondences in your packet. There are correspondences from George A. Hummel Little League, asking for their tax abatement. But we did that already, that was over. Public comment, is there any public comment? Oh, I do have something else. Yeah, I thought, isn't this your last meeting?
You could say it.
Yep, yep, public comment. Selectmen's public comment, we'll start with, Trish, since you're on the screen.
I'm good this evening, thank you. Although I do want to spend my time, I was away last week and I am so incredibly sorry to hear about Kathy's husband. It's very sad. I send my condolences.
Thank you. Mr. Lombardi?
I'm good, thank you.
Bob? Al?
Yeah, I just wanted to,
Thank you, Stephen.
regarding the bird rides agenda item number 7, just for the record, I want to thank Sheila for bringing the idea forward. However, it just seemed like it was a solution to a problem that doesn't exist here in town, and I saw it as a force fit for Seymour, and I just want to make sure I had that on the record, my feelings for that. So that's why I passed. Kaylee Carson, she is the Girl Scout that Amory was talking about before with the Gold Star program. She built that labyrinth on Pearl and Day Street. She worked very hard. I want to congratulate her on doing that. She's a friend of the family. She's known my daughter Katie since they were in preschool together. They're very good friends, and Kaylee and her dad too worked very hard on that. So if you can go by and walk that labyrinth, it's supposed to be something that's mindfulness, meditation, something that's peaceful, and they're popular around the U.S. apparently, and that's why Kaylee got the idea when she took a trip out west in, I think, Portland, I believe. So that's it. And
Stephen?
Stephen, right? Pendergast? Pendergast or Grast? Gast, so I thought. Well, Amory was saying that it's your last night tonight. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed reading your pieces and the voices. You always capture our meetings really accurately, so you're going to be missed. You've been a nice addition to our team here, not part of the board, but part of our reporting. Puts it out there for the community. So I just want to say I appreciate it, and good luck to you in your future.
I don't have much to say, except Stephen, once again, to reiterate what Mr. Bruno said, thank you very much. I think you've been terrific reporting for Seymour. We'll miss you. Good luck to you. The only other item I have is I've asked for an analysis about the vehicles, and I don't know if that's underway. It's a work in progress, I guess?
Yeah, for July 1st, we have to get all the information for insurance purposes. Now we're working.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would probably say by the second meeting in August, if not by beginning of September.
That's all. Thank you.
I first wanted to apologize to my constituency because if you'd have told me I would miss 2 consecutive meetings when I first got elected, I would have laughed in your face. Professional requirements force that, and I am deeply embarrassed about that and apologize. This is a volunteer board, but I do take this role seriously. I wanted to concur with Selectman Bruno's comments regarding the bird thing. Definitely to thank Sheila for bringing that up, even though we didn't vote for it. It's definitely a good idea, and we want those ideas to keep coming. Sincere congratulations to my friend Coach Clissus and his Future Stars U8 baseball team for their sectionals championship this past week. And once again, finally, sincere condolences to Kathy Berlick for losing her husband, and to Nicole and Themis Claridis on the passing of Theodora Claridis. I never got a chance to meet her, but she lived a full, wonderful life, and seemed to be a wonderful person because, frankly, she raised 2 wonderful daughters.
And with that, Stephen, thank you so much. I can have an adjournment. Motion by Pat Lombardi,
Second.
second by Bruno. Al Bruno. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.